नमस्कार दोस्तों, वेलकम टू bizbotany। आज हम पढ़ेंगे डॉर्सीवेंट्रल डाइकॉट लीफ। डॉर्सीवेंट्रल डाइकॉट लीफ। Dorsiventral means what? Dissimilar surfaces of the leaf. Dissimilar surfaces are present in the dicot leaf. That's why we are calling it as a dorsiventral dicot leaf. When we cut the lamina vertically, we get the three main parts of the leaves. They are epidermis, mesophyll layer, and vascular bundles. Three main layers are present: epidermis, mesophyll layer, and vascular bundles. First of all, epidermal layer. Epidermal layer be divided. It contains two epidermis: upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Upper epidermis we call it as a adaxial epidermis. Lower epidermis we are calling it as a abaxial epidermis. Both epidermis are, you can see clearly seen cuticle will be present in the both epidermis, adaxial epidermis and abaxial epidermis. Why we are calling it as a dorsiventral dicot leaf? Dorsiventral means both the surfaces of the leaves are dissimilars. In case of upper epidermis, you can see here some stomata will be present. Some number of stomata will be present. The number of stomata are more in the lower surface of the leaf as compared to the upper surface. In some cases, later these stomata will be not present in this upper portion, but in lower portion more stomata will be present to avoid the excess loss of waters. That's why here in the lower portions more stomata will be present in the dicot leaf. Below the epidermal layer, adaxial and abaxial epidermal layers, which contains the layer of cells, we are calling it as a palisade or mesophyll layer. Mesophyll layers. Here in mesophyll layers there are two types of cells will be present. Exactly below the adaxial epidermis or upper epidermis, some elongated parenchyma cells will be present. These are the elongated parenchyma cells which contains the chloroplast pigment. Pigments. They continuously involve in a photosynthesis process. If they have chlorophyll, means what they perform the function? Obviously they perform the function of a photosynthesis. What is the main function of leaf? Leaves contains a chlorophyll pigments, and the leaves capture the light energy and produce a chemical energy with the help of a photosynthesis process. This upper portion of the mesophyll layers which contains the elongated cell. These are the somewhat elongated cells. Elongated cells will be present. That layer we are calling it as a palisade mesophyll layer. Palisade mesophyll layer. Below the palisade mesophyll layer and above the abaxial epidermis, we have loosely arranged. These are the loosely arranged parenchymatous cells or parenchymatous mesophyll cells with the cavities. Okay, with the spaces. Here some space you can clearly see in these regions. The space which is present in between these loosely arranged mesophyll cells, we are calling it as a air cavity. These type of mesophyll cells we are calling it as a spongy mesophyll cells. Loosely arranged mesophyll cells, we are calling them as a spongy mesophyll cells. Due to the presence of spaces here, it forms an air cavity, and exactly below the above the stomata we have some space. This region we are calling it as a substomatal cavity. These spongy mesophyll cells are helping for the exchange of gases which is required for the photosynthesis process to exchange the carbon dioxide and oxygen. These air cavities will be helpful for the exchange of gases, and in these cells also photosynthesis will be happen in spongy mesophills and palisade mesophyll cells. Next is the vascular bundles. Vascular bundles usually present in the vein and midrib regions. Vascular bundles in a leaf, where you can see the vascular bundles in the veins and midrib regions. It consists of a bundle of sheath cells. Bundle of these cells are nothing but a bundle of sheath cells which cover the xylem and phloem tissues. Inside this bundle of sheath cells we have a xylem, this red colored xylem tissues, and this blue color phloem tissues will be present in the vein and midrib region of the leaf. And the size of these veins and midribs will be vary, okay, because they have a reticulate type of venation. Reticulate type of venation will be present in the dicot leaves. That's why these vascular bundles size also varies according to the vein and midrib size. Next is isobilateral monocot leaf. Isobilateral monocot leaf. Why we are calling monocot leaf as a isobilateral? Iso means same, bilateral means both ventral surface and dorsal surface of the leaves are same. If the distribution of stomata on the adaxial upper epidermis and lower epidermis is same, such type of leaves we are calling it as a isobilateral leaves that will be seen in the monocots. Just like the dicot leaves, monocot leaves also contains all the components, like upper epidermis we are calling it as adaxial epidermis, lower epidermis we are calling it as abaxial epidermis. Both the surfaces have the stomata. Equally distributed stomata will be present in the upper epidermis and lower epidermis. Here this opening, small opening, a small aperture which is present on the epidermal layer, we call it as a stoma. Here also stoma will be present. Here substomatal cavity, the cavity which is present exactly below the stoma, we call it as a substomatal cavity, that is also present in both the surfaces. Next to the epidermis, in case of dicots we have differentiated mesophyll cells. They are palisade mesophyll cells and spongy mesophyll cells will be present in the dicot leaf. But here in case of monocot leaves, there is no differentiation of mesophyll cells will be seen. Just we have a mesophyll cells, they have a chloroplast, they perform the photosynthesis functions. These black color grain like structures, they are the chloroplasts which are present in the mesophyll cells. They perform the photosynthesis process. And vascular bundles also present here. Mesophyll cells, these epidermal cells near to the vascular veins, the epidermal cells which are present near to the veins, they modify themselves, epidermal cells, they modify themselves, forms a colourless cells. These epidermal cells which are present in the vein region, especially in the vein regions, they modified themselves and become a colourless cells. We are call them as a bulliform cells. Bulliform cells. The region where veins are present, at that regions these epidermal cells, they get modify themselves and become a colourless cells. Such cells we call them as a bulliform cells. When they absorb the water molecules, when these bulliform cells absorb the water molecules, these are the bulliform cells. When they absorb the water molecules, they become turgid. What happens when they accumulate more amount of waters? They become obviously turgid and they expose to the sunlight. They expose to the sunlight. When water is in less amount, during a water scarcity, these bulliform cells becomes flaccid. They become a flaccid. When water is not there, they become a flaccid, and interning will be occur in the leaves. Interning leads to the curling of leaves, which will avoid the excess loss of water from the leaves. Excess water loss will be avoided by curling these intern curling of these bulliform cells during the water stress conditions that minimize the loss of water from the leaf surfaces. Here, next are the vascular bundles. These are the xylem tissues. These are all red color structure are nothing but xylem tissues. Around the xylems we have the phloem tissues. But in case of dicot leaves, the vascular bundles are the vascular bundle size will be different, because in case of dicots they have a reticulate type of venation will be present. Reticulate. But in case of monocots, we have a parallel type of venation will be present. In parallel venations, these vascular bundles are almost similar in the lamina of the leaf. These vascular bundles, because of the presence of similar veins and veinlets, veins and midrib. Somewhat midrib portions they have larger vascular bundles, but in case of veins, they in a parallel venation, these vascular bundles are almost same. This is something about the monocot and dicot leaf. Thank you everybody.